Hi everyone, it's Alisa Tilsner. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator from Australia. Today I'm going to show you how I coloured in the flowers from the new Jar of Flowers stamp set and bundle. There is a punch that goes with this one, which is super cute. So first of all, let's just take a quick look at the new stamp set that is going to be out on the 3rd of June, and this is in the new annual catalogue, and this one is actually a reversible stamp set, which means that you can flip the jar and well, I guess you would fill it with water if you wanted to. You can flip it over and use it as a solid. So let's have a quick look at that. So here's the stamp set, and you can use it as a solid, which is what I did for the jar in my card, and then I just punched it out with the matching punch, which I don't have beside me, which is a bit silly. But you can see that it's a slightly different colour. I've used the same cardstock, but it's a slightly different colour to my card base. And that's because I was trying to go for the painted mason jar type of look. So what I did was actually stamped it in white, Whisper White craft ink, and then punched it out. And I'll show you that after we've done our colouring. So we have them, and we've got a little bit of a diagonal stripe border here, and then of course we have various different flowers that you can pop into your jar, some stalks for your flower stems, I shouldn't call them stalks, and also the lid of your jar should you wish to have a full jar. And so there is a few other things that come with this as a suite, like there's some little shaker glass window things. I can't think of the word for them at the moment, and I haven't even got my catalogue beside me, but I'm sure you will see them all coming up. Now I am working on shimmery cardstock. I'm not sure whether you can see a bit of shimmer going on there, but working in shimmer cardstock, and I have stamped on with StazOn. So let's get started with our colouring. So we are going to use your trusty, which one should I use? They're both, I think it's time for a new one, to tell you the truth. So got your trusty rag and your aqua painter. There are new aqua painters coming out tomorrow. I must put them on my wish list and get started with them. Okay, so now I'm using I've got a new phone. So I'm going to try and zoom in. There we go, just with a touch of a button I can zoom in now. So I'm going to start with my leaves, and I'm going to be using Old Olive to start with. So just squeezing the ink pad to transfer ink into the lid. Shift out. Now I've got to make sure that I'm in the right screen, because being a different camera, it's all quite different for me. So I'm going to start with these leaves here. So again, just a light wash to start with. And I've had requests to not speed up my videos, so I may not speed them up, but I may not also be chatty, because I tend to struggle with talking and colouring at the same time. So I may just go quiet, and hopefully the background noise from my family, who are all at home with me today, won't interfere. So then I just come in with a little bit more colour, and I just do about maybe 1/2 to 3/4 of colour on the leaves next. Okay, and then just for a little bit extra, you'll probably see in my very messy lid that I have got a little bit of concentrated ink over here. Now, if you don't have puddles like this in your ink lid, then you can always put a drop of re-inker and use it straight from there, because that colour is pretty intense. And then we just pop a little bit more of that in any shadow areas, and just to add a little bit more depth. So using the one colour, we've been able to use quite a bit of shading in the leaves. And then if you've got any harsh lines and you want to blend them out, you can just come in with your wet aqua painter and just soften them up. Of course, if you like that more of a harsher line in your look, then you can leave them there. Okay, so the next colour that I'm going to use is Mossy Meadow, and we're going to do the other leaves. Now this one doesn't tend to want to squeeze too well, and I don't think I have a re-inker for it, so I'm going to need to rectify that. I'm going to need to go through all my ink pads and find which ones I don't have re-inkers for. Okay, so just picking up again, and we're going to colour these ones here. And we'll make sure I'm in screen. Okay, now when I originally coloured my image, I thought, there's not enough separation in colour for those leaves, that I wanted a little bit more difference, and I didn't have that. So I thought I was going to whip out my shaded spruce, which is completely different in colour and tonings to the Mossy Meadows, just to brighten it up a little bit. I thought, oh well, you know, I've got nothing to lose here. Let's have a crack. So I can get my ink pad open. So just picking up small amounts, like really small amounts like that. Just put the very tip of the brush in there, and then I just added a tiny little bit of the shaded spruce into that Mossy Meadow. Okay, then wipe my brush off and just blend the two in, and it just brightened it up just a little bit. And then I got that great separation of colour between the two leaves, so I can have them a little bit more distinctive. Okay, so that is my leaves done. Next I'm going to come in with the Petal Pink, which is the colour that I used for my card base and for the jar. And make sure I'm still on the screen. Now I am going to squeeze a little bit of water through my brush, not so that a whole drop comes out, but just so that I can get a bit of a watery puddle going on. And then for my first layer, I am just going to pretty well throw it down. The first watery colour generally does not take any time at all. That's it, and I want to do this one over here as well. So that's it, real quick for that one. And then I'm going to come in with my Rococo Rose. And this is where we do start to take our time. So just drying off my brush so it's not so watery. Okay, so now I have discovered how the Rococo Rose works. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll have noticed that the Rococo Rose responds a little bit differently to the rest of the inks. I think it's the whole ink colours that respond a little bit differently. But I figured it out. It actually needs water, not sopping wet, but it just needs to be a little bit of water added to it. Like you can't use the ink straight from the ink pad. You do have to water it down a little bit, and then it will flow nicely. So just coming in where these centers of the petals are, and I'm just going to lay some color down around those areas. So that's what I will do now. The center's a little bit tricky. I just sort of make it up as I go along, but for the outer petals you can do a little bit better than that. Okay, then I usually wipe my brush off and then just blend that little bit of a line in. Okay, now I do want to go in one more time, and I do want it to be a little bit darker. So what I mean by I can't, like normally what I would do is just pick up that color and then use it, but I can't do that with these ink colors. They don't want to do behave the same way for some reason. So I do just make it a little bit watery, but a deeper puddle than, like, not so watery, but you do have to, for some reason, add a little bit more water. And then it will flow nicely. And then generally for this one here, I generally just pounce the colour on into the little areas that I want. And I don't come out, I sort of stick to the line of the drawing. And a little bit up here. And I also want to do these little berry things, and I'm going to just do them straight Rococo Rose. Okay. Now the final colour is the Seaside Spray. Now I had originally wanted to try and make these more on the white side. I do think that they're different roses. I think that this is probably more of a traditional rose, and these might be I cannot pronounce that, a peony or I don't know. Some people pronounce it really different, and I'm going to really struggle because we've got the Peony Garden Set Suite, which I love as well. Okay, so again, because this is one of those new in colours, I do have to add water to it. I don't want to puddle it down too much, but I do need to add water that puddle down just a little bit for some reason. Okay, and then because I'm not doing a first colour wash, I'm just doing straight down, all I want to do is just keep to the inside of the flowers as if I was doing a second layering, because I want a fair bit of white space on this one still to keep it soft. Okay, so fairly quick, wipe off my brush and then just come out and blend just with a plain water, just to try and soften that edge a little bit, but as it dries it'll settle into the paper anyway. And that is it for colouring. So it's not too tricky at all. Whoops, I keep messing up my thing there, apologies. Okay, so then I just fussy cut that and sat it on top. Now let's have a look at this. I'll show you. So turning it over and using the other side. So I'm going to use the solid side and grab some more of my. So what I did is just inked that up in Whisper White. Made sure I had a really, really good covering. And stamp that down. So I might be a little bit too close. Let's see if I can go back a little bit. Whoops. There we go. So stamp that down. I usually let my ink like settle, while I'm stamping it, settle on there a little bit. So you can see that there are a few little spotchy bits. I'll bring that up. So you can probably see that it hasn't given a whole lot of good coverage, but because I wanted that chalky painted look, I thought, well, I'm just going to leave that as is. And I also did some on the Rococo Rose, so you can see that using a darker colour may work a little bit better. That one didn't stamp properly, but this one did. But you can see that it sort of gives a bit of a chalky, unfinished, as if you hand painted it yourself type of mason jar. So that's what I was after. And just to finish off the card, I popped in some of the new, oh man, I'm not going to remember the name of this one either. Hang on, it's right beside me. I used some of the In Good Taste Designer Series paper, and there are some gorgeous, we've got like tiles and wood grain, different tiles, like plaster mixed in with paint and more tiles, slate, all sorts of gorgeous knitted textures. So really, really pretty, realistic papers for that. So, and normally this would be a bit too heavy for me, and I normally wouldn't go for this type of thing, but I popped that behind there with a little bit of the Seaside spray just to tie everything in together, and the Label Me Bold stamp set, which is retiring. Today is, while I'm filming this, is the 2nd of June, and it is the last day that you can get it, and it will not be leaving my collection, and you will probably see me using it a whole lot more as well. So that's it. Oh, and I tied a little bit of linen thread around the top of the bow. I probably should have double wrapped it just to give it more of a Pinterest look like they do, but that's how my card turned out. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the colouring. I certainly enjoy colouring, and we will see you again in another video. So take care. Bye.